It somehow just got even worse for this Miami Heat organization, and specifically Terri Rozier, as we just got brand new information surrounding Rozier's federal gambling investigation and the magnitude in which it's going to. I'm here to break down all of the new information and all of the data that we now have and how it is very drastic. And it's not looking good for Terri Rozier. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, remember to scroll down and click that subscribe button. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys. But remember to scroll down and click that subscribe button to stay up to date on everything Miami Heat. Thank you guys, but now let's get to it and break down the major updates on Terri Rozier. And this is not a relatively new topic of conversation, as Rozier has been under federal investigation for some time now, despite different rumors that he may be in the clear. That's not the case. And based off this brand new article that we're going to cite, published on ESPN just today, we have learned some new substantial numbers surrounding this investigation and why it's actually taking place. So let's start here. A professional bettor placed 30 wagers in 46 minutes, all involving Rozier in a 2023 NBA game, according to documents obtained by ESPN that reveal new details about the suspicious betting under scrutiny by federal investigators. On the morning of March 23, 2023, a bettor at a sportsbook in Biloxi, Mississippi, placed $13,759 in bets on the unders of Rozier's statistics in a game that night between the Charlotte Hornets and the New Orleans Pelicans. According to documents which ESPN acquired through an open record request, all 30 bets won after Rozier, an 8-year veteran with the Hornets at the time, exited 10 minutes into the game, citing a foot issue. Before we even get any farther, placing 30 wagers in 46 minutes is crazy. And then to go 30 of 30 on those wagers, that does not happen. Even if you are the luckiest person walking this earth, that does not happen. You literally have to have insider information. You do not just swing a hot bat and go 30 for 30 in 30 wagers you place in 46 minutes. If you guys don't wager, don't get into it. It can be very lucrative. It can be very, very manipulative, and it's not something that you really just want to jump into and start deploying money into. When you're a professional athlete, yes, you have some money you can waste. I'm not saying that. But for Rozier and any athlete to gamble on the game in which they play is not allowed. It has been that way forever, regardless of the sport. This is something we talked about ad nauseum in the last episode of Heat Digest, where we broke down the Rozier situation. Going back to Charlie Hustle, whether in baseball, Pete Rose, he's not in the Hall of Fame, even though he is as decorated of an MLB player that has ever lived. And why? It's because he gambled on games. He will never get into the Hall of Fame, even though you could argue against it. I'm not here to have that argument or that debate. But the idea is the same. Regardless of how good you are, regardless of how important you are to your organization or to your team or to the league in which you play for, you are not allowed to gamble on your game. It's just not how that works. And just because you call your brother or a family member or a friend and you say, hey man, I'm going to exit. I'm not playing this game. I'll be in the game for 5 to 10 minutes. Bet on everything under. That is still not allowed. You cannot do that. And that is what it's starting to look like happened with Terri Rozier. Now, we move on. The NBA investigated the unusual activity in 2023 and found that no league rules were violated. 2 years later, Rozier is one of 3 NBA players known to have been under investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Eastern District of New York. Rozier has not been charged or accused of any wrongdoing. Now, this update is not relatively new, as we broke this down again on the last episode of Heat Digest, but we do have more context. We got updates from Shams a few months ago saying, I'm going to paraphrase, but he basically said that Rozier was semi in the clear and that the gambling investigation was lifted. But then we got updates just about, 2 weeks ago from Ira Winderman, not even 2 weeks ago, saying that that quote wasn't entirely accurate and that Rozier is not home free just yet, and he is still under federal investigation for the gambling operation that allegedly took place. So he's still under federal investigation. Now there's a lot of context in the sense of actual statistics on how many wagers were placed, how many were won, and on the games in which they were placed on. And obviously, they're all correlating, which is not good for Terri Rozier or this Miami Heat organization. Sources told ESPN that multiple sportsbooks in New Orleans also received heavier than expected action on the under on Rozier props. starting in the morning and lasting until mid-afternoon. At 2:24 p.m., the day of the game, U.S. Integrity sent a nationwide alert about, quote, suspicious wagering Terri Rozier NBA player props, end of quote, according to documents ESPN obtained through another open records request. So the idea that it was a nationwide thing where a lot of people were jumping, and I should reference this as the public was jumping all over Rozier's unders in this game, is going to be a helping hand, because Rozier obviously can't put out a nationwide alert to all of the bettors and all of the public to take his under. That's not, like, he didn't do that because it would be public and viral information involved in this story, but also discreetly, like across the board, Rozier isn't going to independently text and tell and make these people aware of these wagers they should take. It just, that wouldn't make any sense. So right now this is a push in Rozier's direction, because again, he can't contact all these people nationwide to then take his under. Now, that one bettor, I should say, that placed these 30 wagers in 46 minutes all on Rozier certainly does not help Rozier's case, especially if there's any direct contact from Rozier or his family specifically, or anyone surrounding Rozier. Now, to continue in the article, Rozier is part of the same federal gambling investigation that led to former Toronto Raptors center Jontay Porter being banned from the NBA. In July of 2024, Porter pled guilty to conspiracy charges and admitted to removing himself from 2 games during the 23-24 NBA season to help bettors win wagers on the under of his props. 4 men, including Porter, have pled guilty to charges stemming from the scheme, and 2 others are in plea negotiations with federal authorities, according to court documents. Some of the same betting accounts that have wagers on Porter also bet on Rozier props in the Hornets and Pelicans game, in addition to multiple college basketball games that were flagged for suspicious wagering activity over the past 2 seasons. Gambling industry sources told ESPN. Trustee said Rozier does not have connections to any of the people implicated in the Porter case. So, a lot of connections here, and thankfully not all of the connections here. What do I mean by that? Well, Rozier's in connections to the Jontay Porter deal because it's the same gambling investigation that Jontay was involved in, but there isn't full connections here. Obviously, the people placing wagers on Jontay are also involved in Rozier, but it's not all of them, as well as Rozier doesn't seem to have any connections directly to Jontay Porter and the people surrounding him also gambling on his games, which, again, is another positive for Rozier, which seems crazy to say because this entire investigation is not a positive, and it's a red flag without a doubt, and it seems like this could be the end of Terri Rozier's tenure in the NBA playing professional basketball, which is not good for the Miami Heat. He's currently on the roster for this Miami Heat organization, and if he were to be caught, obviously, it would probably resemble a lot of what happened with Toronto and Jontay Porter, where he was just cleared off the books. He was fully exempt from the Toronto Raptors and the NBA entirely. So the money comes off the books. The roster spot does open up. But the fact that he has to maintain on this Miami Heat organization until this is fully resolved is a problem. We don't know when it'll be resolved. We don't know what the verdict will actually be. We don't know if Terri Rozier is going to be guilty, if he's going to be innocent, if he's going to be revoked from the league or expelled from the league, I should say, like Jontay Porter. We don't know if he's going to face any jail time or any form of actual discipline outside of the NBA specifically. There are a lot of moving parts here that we don't have answers to, but there are a lot of pieces of data that we now know to understand this is substantial and this is extremely real for Terri Rozier and all parties including this Miami Heat organization. If you look at the depth chart, Rozier is currently listed as the 3rd string point guard, and going back to last season, he was higher on the depth chart than even that before the slump of play really became a full-time thing, because Rozier went from being a consistent scorer, someone that wasn't the greatest player for this Heat team, but again, he was a reliant 6-man coming off the bench, or really 7th or 8th guy coming off the bench that could help the second unit be a stable guy in that lineup that could help out, as he comes from being a starter for other good teams and being a substantial piece for other respectable teams like the Celtics as well as the Charlotte Hornets. I know they're not very respectable, but when he was on that team, he was a respectable player. He was what the Miami Heat traded for, that 20-point per game scorer, someone that can facilitate and handle the basketball at a high level. And obviously, since his arrival in Miami, that has not been the case for Terri Rozier. Unfortunately, as we all had a lot of hope for him, again, speaking about Heat Nation, but up to this point, it has been very underwhelming in the sense of overall basketball production, and off the court is the biggest takeaway. And unfortunately, it's for all of the wrong reasons. And outside of that, Rozier has been looking, or the Miami Heat have been looking to trade Terri Rozier this offseason, but due to the federal gambling investigation and the rumors surrounding that, as well as the overall price tag surrounding him, he has zero trade market. He's owed $26.5 million this up and coming year. It'll be the final year of his contract, so whoever goes out and trades for Rozier is taking him on a loaner deal, trying to see if he will produce in the final year of his contract and work to get extended once again by whatever team goes out and acquires him. But obviously that doesn't seem like even a possibility, because no one wants to take someone that has the chance to be expelled from the NBA due to a gambling investigation in which he's taking part in. A lot of moving parts here. We got a lot of data, which I thought was important to bring to you guys. And again, this is not normal. Don't hear me read this. Don't read it for yourself and assume you're going to be able to place 30 wagers on one specific basketball player in less than an hour's time and cash out. This does not happen unless you have insider information. And that's why I am so heavily tilted the other way in the idea that this is not good for Terri Rozier. Yes, the other wagers and the fact that sports books across Louisiana and others went out and said, hey, there's a suspicious wagering Terri Rozier NBA player props, nationwide alert. The fact that it's nationwide does help, because maybe it was a trend that all of social media saw on Twitter or on X or on Instagram or whatever they use to gamble, or Discord, whatever it may be, and a lot of people jumped on it. But when it comes down to that one player that may be in connections to Rozier, placing this many wagers and being this successful is not a recipe for success for Terri Rozier. There's no way around it. Let me know down below what your overall thoughts and opinions are on this new data that we now have surrounding Rozier and the federal gambling investigation he's currently under, and what your overall thoughts and opinions are on it. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest. Thank you guys for watching.